Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdogs Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner Me episode, I have a very terrifying story to read to you all today involving Crop Circle, and another story involving, this non-human homeless man that was witnessed in Chicago. Let's get into the first article: mysterious incidents at Fort Drum, Florida, Crop Circle appearance, and blue beam humanoid in the road. Let's hear the story and how terrifying it was for the witnesses. A mysterious crop circle appeared in inland Florida and was swiftly cut down, but the story didn't die. Since then, repeated eyewitness reports of strange aerial lights and an uncanny encounter on August 7th, 2013, near Fort Drum, Florida, suggest that something far more significant is unfolding. Two brothers running near their home watched in horror as a tall, human-like being leapt half the road, raised its head at their flashlight, and triggered a blue beam that reached skyward. What really lurks in this suppressed zone? In the late 1990s, a crop circle appeared in a small inland town in Florida. The field was quickly cut down to prevent any publicity. Since then, numerous witnesses have reported seeing unidentified lights in the sky in the area. Many of these sightings have been shared and corroborated on Facebook shortly after they occurred. So, what can I say about so far what we've read, folks? Something is going on in that area. We saw a blue beam from a possible UFO, very weird-looking cryptids, all seemingly around this area in Fort Drum, Florida. Do you suppose that these alien beings have taken some sort of interest in Fort Drum, Florida? Maybe it's close to some sort of, underground or even maybe submerged UFO base. Now, remember, Florida basically is just down there off of America, folks, and there could very well be maybe some sort of UFO presence down there, maybe either in the water around the state or maybe underground and stuff like that. So maybe Fort Drum is near some sort of base is what I'm saying, folks, and that maybe it's directly under where this crop circle is or close by. Because I'm trying to basically rationalize this, folks, and see what and maybe why the aliens are down there. But let's read on and then we can discuss this a bit more. On August 7th, 2013, in Fort Drum, Florida, two brothers were out running near their home when they came across something in the middle of the road. According to their account, it was a human-like being that fled from them in a fast and stealthy manner. They described it as much larger than themselves, taking up half of the road and initially crawling. At one point, it leaped about 10 feet in a single bound and jumped a fence. The brothers felt that the being did not want to be seen and acted like a fugitive evading capture. They could hear it moving and even heard it rattle a fence. One of the brothers shone his flashlight in the direction of the sounds and saw the being slowly lift its head to his light. He described it as having a human-like appearance, but lacking hair and featuring a larger forehead. The eyes, he observed, were distinctly human, yet with a cat-like quality. As soon as the eyes met his, he was overcome with fear. At that moment, a blue beam of light appeared, stretching from the ground to the sky, disappearing. The brothers then ran as fast as they could from the area. Now, from the description of this particular creature, folks, it sounds like a pale crawler, but it has distinctly cat-like features to it as well. In the past, everyone, we've talked about pale crawlers and how they have different features sometimes having big black eyes like gray aliens or no features at all. So this pale crawler having cat-like eyes is very interesting. It could also be that this could be some sort of cat-like cryptid as well, folks, but we can't be for sure because it had several human-like characteristics. Whatever it was very unique. Either way, let's move on to the next article. Homeless man who wasn't human. Unnerving encounter in downtown Chicago. And let's read about this, humanoid being that was witnessed and hear how it unfolded for him. Amid the bustling summer crowds of downtown Chicago, a commuter's casual glance turned into a haunting memory he could never shake. What he first thought was a disfigured homeless man may have been something far stranger, a being hiding in plain sight, watching the city's flow with inhuman precision. Ooh, that sounds interesting, doesn't it, folks? Let's get into it now. I've had experiences before this incident, but I still doubt what I saw. This happened during the summer of 2018 in downtown Chicago. If you've ever been to downtown Chicago in the summer after working hours, you know how crowded it can get. I've been living here for 13 years and have seen my share of homeless individuals. I commute using the subway each day and have encountered some odd people. The city is full of them, and at first, that's how I, brushed off this sighting. But apparently, this was no ordinary homeless person, folks. It was something far, far different and stranger. What was this being, folks? Could be an alien we're about to hear about, and maybe it has something to do with basically the Mothman encounters that are being seen in Chicagoland. You know, basically not just Chicago is having these encounters, folks, but all of Illinois and maybe a few states beyond as well are having encounters with these winged cryptids and moth-like owl beings. So, whatever these things are, folks, it's being seen all over the state and even beyond. But what was this thing, folks? Let's continue with this article. I was walking to the comic book store approaching State Street. There were lots of shoppers and tourists going about their business when I noticed what I will refer to as a homeless man on a corner kneeling. As I looked at him again, I became confused. He appeared to be a Caucasian man with a scar on his face, which gave him a slightly disfigured look. He wore an oversized hat, but I could see that he was bald. He knelt there, muttering, partially obscuring his face. I've never stared at someone before, but there I was in the middle of State Street, shocked and confused. He didn't look normal. His eyes were immense, and I felt a deep sense of sorrow for him. I looked around to see if anyone else had noticed him. A young boy in his teens, accompanied by his father, was watching this figure just as I was. I heard the father tell the boy not to look at him, but I could see that the boy was also in shock and confusion. He understood that this wasn't a typical human. Something about this humanoid was definitely off. Now, this being apparently had oversized eyes, folks. It sounds, well, like this being was like a gray alien, perhaps. I don't know, but it sounds very, very, bizarre. Was this perhaps some sort of, alien hybrid? Maybe scouring the city for information? Maybe it was out on some sort of reconnaissance mission, is what I'm saying, folks. Is that what this being was? But why was it that this man and this boy were able to see this being? Was it because they were immune to his power for some reason? Or was he allowing them to see him in his true form, perhaps? And why did this being, so far as we can see, notice that these two men, man and boy, were looking at him like this, folks? And what was he muttering about? Either way, let's read on. Everyone else who walked by dared not look and choose to ignore him. That was my cue to cross the street, but I kept turning around to get another glimpse. The last thing I remember that struck me as odd was how his eyes blinked. It reminded me of how Gollum from the Lord of the Rings. He didn't seem real. I often think about this sighting and sometimes dismiss it as just a peculiar-looking homeless man. However, the more I recall the sighting, the more I'm convinced it was not human. That's precisely what this thing was doing, trying to hide in plain sight in front of hundreds of people. Its mannerisms were strange, too. The way its head bent down yet occasionally looked up to make eye contact was bizarre. It almost felt like I was observing a wild animal at a zoo V. Indeed. Maybe this thing was more animal-like than human, folks. Or maybe this was an act put on for the witnesses' benefit. Maybe it was gauging their reactions to how they would, emotionally react to him. Maybe this was all part of some sort of test, folks. Maybe this man was being observed by other alien entities, and they wanted to observe how people reacted to him, because, that's an idea that just popped into my head just now. Or maybe there was some other reason for this. As I said earlier, folks, maybe this being was on some sort of reconnaissance mission, and it was observing human behavior, and maybe one of the things that he was observing, because there could very well be more of these entities out there, folks. Maybe he was observing how these people reacted to him as part of his mission. Maybe it was all basically one big, covert or clandestine operation by this being and whoever he was working for, folks. Maybe it was also working for the government, because it's been said before, folks, that maybe the government is in cahoots with alien beings, and I would not be surprised if this entity could have been some sort of government agent, maybe even some sort of disguise. Perhaps there was some sort of drug administered to both this man and this boy, and they were gauging the reactions of them to this entity. How they were administered this drug, I don't know, folks, because remember, the boy's father appeared to basically not be affected at all and told the boy just to ignore this being. Either way, very interesting, but now we're at the end. So please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics That Are Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions of the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Make sure that the part of the bell that'll give you all of future notifications, and please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdogs Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.